But when I order something, I always check the reviews. Reviews are extremely important. To me, they are anyway. Including this. Reading the review. See? No matter what I buy online, I always read the reviews. To me, they're crucial. They're not waste money or be stuck with some garbage that's not any good. While reading the reviews for this stuff, came across a lot of negative reviews. Just didn't work out for some people, whether it was it was washing out too fast or not washing out at all. I did have 4.5 stars. I did go ahead and order anyway for the money. I think it was 30 bucks for the quart. Set around for a couple of weeks, but I recently used it this week. As you can see, what I gathered from the comments is that the burn time is supposed to be 15 seconds, which is way down from the 4 minutes I had with my other emulsion. Also, the LED thing got my attention, so I was willing to give it a shot. 15 seconds did it for me. In this video, I'll walk you through my prep and cleaning for that, my washing and drying the screen, the burning and exposing the screen. 15 seconds. I also go run through how to use this guy to dial in your exposure times. Are you nervous? Are you nervous? All right, so you're going to start with the plastisol removal. This is a lot easier if you do it. The sooner you do it after you print, the longer you let it sit, the tougher it's going to be to get off. It's easiest to get the majority of it off on press prior to getting the booth. Once you get it to the booth, if you spray it, lightly agitate it and let it sit, it'll come off a lot easier. The chemicals just break down that plastisol, kind of separates it to where you can almost wipe it off and it no longer smears. It wipes away almost like it solidifies, sort of. That I like to degrease it because that chemical leaves a residue on the screen, which I don't know, in my mind it seems like it might stop the emulsion remover from actually reaching the screen and doing what it's supposed to do. But once you get to this point, you want to spray both sides, lightly agitate it, and let it sit. The longer you let it sit, the better it is. But you want to make sure you don't let that emulsion dry. If you let that emulsion dry, it's going to be tough to get it out, and you're going to need a pressure washer. For this, I didn't use a pressure washer. Kind of just to show you guys that you're at home. You could do it at home without the pressure washer and a lot of other things. But like I said, once you let it sit, which I didn't let it sit too long here for this video, but it comes right out. I did it again. But once I rinse it out, I redid the sides, agitate a little bit, let it sit, and went and just mixed up my emulsion while emulsion slow so you don't cause any bubbles. You want to make sure you do this every time. Make sure you get all the sediments from the bottom, anything that's on the side. You want a homogeneous mixture. So when you apply it to the screen, everything works across the board the same. You won't have any issues with pinholes or any whatever chemicals are unevenly mixed in there. Good practice. Mix it. Light sensitive. I don't know if that red LED is affecting it, considering it's for LED, but it didn't seem to bother. Plus, I need to see. I got some yellow light bulbs. I still know. Once you get it mixed, you want to let it sit and let the bubbles rise up out of it, which seems to take forever. But you got plenty of time to let your screen dry. I like to tilt the screen and run that water stream almost parallel to the screen to push off any debris or anything that might be on there. because if you're shooting straight at it, it may just deflect it some or push it across the screen where it slides as opposed to rinsing it off and down. You don't have to use a dehazer, but I do, because like I said, this screen was sitting for a while. Again, the faster you do it, the sooner you do it, the easier it's going to be to reclaim. You want to agitate that in just like anything else, and let it sit. This you can let sit for some time. You don't have to worry about too much about it drying. You also want a thicker consistency when you're adding that on there. Mine's just been sitting around a lot, and it's a lot tougher to spread when it's that thick, but if you add a little bit of water to it, it'll help. Now you don't need this step. This is just to remove whatever residue is left from the plastisol. The screen, when you're drying the screen, you want to make sure you pat the screen dry, because if any rubbing will cause fibers to release from whatever cloth or towel you're using, and that'll affect your screen, causing pinholes, because the emulsion won't hear where any of those fibers are laying or touching the screen. So make sure that you pat it dry. The longer you hold it, the more it'll absorb. It works just fine as opposed to wiping, like I said, but it doesn't have to be completely dry. This is just in case. The water sometimes will leave water stains, and sometimes that'll be an issue. It's not too much. I'm not sure if it's hard water, soft water, whatever it is, but it causes an issue if you leave it and let that water dry on the screen. I let my screens dry for 2 hours this time. Any other time I'm doing it ahead of time, so my screens will sit and dry they'll be in there for a day or so. That is filtered box, air constantly flowing through it, so they're fine in there, especially with the humidity band set in here. All right, if you carefully fill your scoop coater, less mess you make now, less you gotta clean up later. Hard lessons learned. You want to let this sit for about 15 minutes or so, maybe 10, maybe less. It's tough. It depends on your humidity and how much you got in there, how long you're going to let it sit. It'll start to dry on you if you don't use it or cover with plastic. Cover with plastic to keep the air exposure down. Level it up. Level it up. Make sure you got a good consistent touch across the screen. You want to make sure you got enough towards that front there, because you're going to lose some of that volume as you go up. You got to remember to keep that in mind. Good consistent stroke, firm. Make sure that it's pressed up against there level, and after the first coat, give it a look to see if there's any inconsistencies or any adjustments you need to make. It's better to do it then than to find out after you let the screen dry and you're setting up for it to print or do a job. Nice even coat. Look, man. Let this thing dry for 24 hours. Good amount of dry time. I'm sure you could do less. It's just not something I'm into. Just make sure the thing is dry. Get a better burn, better screen, good transparencies. It's also a must. Better that print, better that shirt's going to be. It's the little things. This time I did use the exposure calculator. I forgot for the first time, which I wound up burning the screen for 4 minutes, which was way too long. I actually didn't receive any instructions with this emulsion, so I kind of winged it and tested just to see where about where I needed to be. There's 2 pieces of tape here on corners facing the screen. 2 small pieces that are going to adhere that transparency to the glass. Just with a little bit of the tape exposed, so it'll easily release. That thing up. Don't forget the tester here. If you don't have one of these, you're going to need it, especially if you're watching this video and having trouble with exposing screens. It's like $7, well worth it. We're going to go for 1 minute 30 seconds.